In this video, I'm going to explain Raleigh's huge migration and the New York, the California, and the Florida exodus. You know, North Carolina just hit the #1 in the entire country for domestic migration. North Carolina is beating Texas, it's beating Florida, it's beating everyone, and Raleigh is right in the center of all this growth. But what that number doesn't show is which area people are choosing and whether this wave has the momentum to keep going. So I'm going to break this down right now, and if you're thinking about making a move here, you're about to learn how to look at this from a home buyer's perspective. You know, Raleigh's growth hasn't stopped, and the numbers are hard to ignore because our metro area now has nearly 1.6 million people, up about 12.8% since the 2020 census. And our whole country only grew by 3.1% during this same time. So you could say we grew roughly 4 times faster than the rest of the country. And in the bigger picture, Wake County is growing by about 76 people per day. This is the 5th biggest population growth of any county in 2025. And at the state level, North Carolina added about 146,000 people between July 24 and July 25 alone. We ranked the 3rd largest total population gain in the entire nation. So North Carolina also ranked 1st in domestic net migration, meaning more people choose to move here from other states than anywhere else in our country. More than Texas, more than South Carolina, more than anywhere. So if you're wondering why, don't worry, that's what I'm here to tell you. You might ask if we have kept up this fast growth pace. Well, yes, it has slowed to a more normal pace, but it's still one of the top places to live in all the assessments that they do across the nation. So our growth is steady, it's sustainable, it's still moving upward. The COVID explosion is where this all started. And to really get where Raleigh is today, you've got to go all the way back to COVID, and that's when things really took off. Before COVID, growth was here and it was steady and it was manageable. And then it was spurred by COVID, changing everything. People could leave expensive cities and move somewhere with a lower cost of living and a better quality of life, and Raleigh was on everyone's short list. So you could walk to Whole Foods and you could see nothing but California license plate. And that's how real inbound migration got in our area. Late in 21 and into 2022, those are what we call now the unicorn years, because inventory dropped below a 1-month supply at our lowest point. And bidding wars were everywhere. Prices were going up faster than anybody could keep up with, and the whole market was heavily tilted toward a strong seller advantage. Now this gradually is changing, and the market has come back to earth, but the foundation for Raleigh's growth was here long before COVID. The pandemic just turned up the volume, and we'll go over the market numbers later, so stick around for those. But where are all these new residents coming from, and what areas are they actually making the move to our area? The pattern is pretty consistent. The Northeast, specifically the New York area, has always sent people our way. And the reason is pretty simple: taxes. We've always gotten people from the Northeast because of the taxes. This is not a new trend. North Carolina's flat income tax rate of 3.99%, and that's a big drop from what you're paying in New York. Our milder winters don't hurt our case either. California spiked in reload to Raleigh during COVID. The price difference between the Bay Area or LA or Raleigh is still really hard to ignore. So Florida is actually sending people our way. Rising insurance costs and the heat are pushing some folks back north, at least halfway. We say that they moved to Florida from New York, and now they've gotten too hot, so they're moving halfway back. We've also got relocation from Virginia, South Carolina, and Texas, and New Jersey to round things out. And then there's an international piece, with around 31% of Raleigh's migration coming from outside the U.S., though that number has shifted in recent years due to the changes in federal migration policy. So tens of thousands of new residents arrived in Raleigh last year, second only to Charlotte in all of North Carolina. And when you look at how many people left, there's still a massive net positive. So I'll talk about that number too. If you're thinking about making a move to Raleigh, this is really a good time to reach out. I've spent years in this market, so I know exactly where the good deals are right now. And my contact information is in the description below. But why are people relocating to Raleigh? You know, Raleigh's pull is actually a combination that's really hard to match. So let's talk about why. First, our job market is the biggest draw for younger people. Research Triangle Park, which locals call RTP, is the largest research park in the United States. People call it the Silicon Valley of the South, and for good reason. IBM, Red Hat, Cisco, SAS, Lenovo, Epic Games, they're all right here. And now Apple and Google are setting up major operations in the Triangle. Apple's billion-dollar RTP campus is expected to bring at least 2,700 new jobs. And the unemployment rate here sits well below the national average. So if you're a young professional and you've got enormous opportunities between the state government and Research Triangle Park, plus all the hospitals that are around here too. The cost of living is another big reason people come, especially from the Northeast or California. The cost of living here runs about 4% below the national average, with utilities being around 12% more affordable. Housing comes in at 10% below the national average. For retirees, the tax setup here is so attractive. Social Security is fully exempt from state income tax, and there's no inheritance tax. And property taxes run around 0.68% effective rate in Wake County. So you feel that difference every single month that you live here. And then there's just life here, which honestly seals the deal for most people. We have 4 real seasons, we have milder winters. Raleigh has an amazing 180 miles of greenways across the metro Raleigh and more than 10,000 acres of parkland. We have excellent health care options, including Duke, Wake Med, and UNC Rex. And these are some of the best hospitals in the country, and they're right here in our city. So in 2025, the Raleigh area got its first ever Michelin Guide recognition for American South. The food scene here has really grown up, and that makes me very happy. Raleigh was also named the #1 best city for job opportunities and earning potential by the New York Post in 2025. And this will become clear when I talk more about business later on. So the fundamentals are really strong here, and when you look at the variety of price points, you start to see that you've got more options than you might think. Where are the smart buyers landing in our area? So now that you know who's coming and why, now let's see where people are actually buying. You know, honestly, it all depends on the life that you want. So if you're a young professional who wants to be in the middle of action, downtown Raleigh is the starting point. You know, it's walkable, the nightlife is real, and nearly 4,000 homes have been built downtown since 2020, with more coming online. Homes, mostly townhomes and condos, there are typically selling in the mid-4s. Glenwood South is another solid pick. It's a former industrial area that's now packed with restaurants and galleries and bars. North Hills has coined a midtown vibe with all the city perks and none of the downtown congestion. And it's a quick trip to RTP. North Hill prices begin in the high 500s and rise quickly into the millions depending on where you land. So for families, especially people coming from the Northeast, Cary is a gold standard. It ranked #5 best place to live in the country and #1 in North Carolina by USA News for 25 and 26. Homes there typically begin in the high 5s and move upward. You know, if you're from New York, New Jersey, and you're used to a fast-paced life, great restaurants and things being really convenient, then you're looking at the premium areas. Those premium areas are North Raleigh and Cary, and maybe a bit of Wake Forest and Apex. North Raleigh is great for families with nature preserves and easy access to jobs across the northern part of our metro. Briar Creek is also a solid pick for anyone who travels a lot given how close it is to the airport. And if you want older homes with real character and walkability near downtown, 5 Points, Marti, Hayes Barton are worth a look. And you've got restored homes, real neighborhoods close to everything. For buyers watching their budget, there are strong options 20 to 30 minutes out. And if you're migrating for a quieter life, the suburbs will definitely accommodate. Fuquay, Barina, Wake Forest, Garner, Wendell, Knightdale, Zebulon, and Clayton are all worth looking at seriously and considering. Fuquay Barina homes are trending in the mid-4s, and Wake Forest and South Raleigh also have entry points in the mid-4s and upward. Wake County gives Garner a niche A rating and Clayton a niche A- rating, so you're not giving up as much as you'd think. And for 55-plus buyers, this area has a lot of active adult communities, and the tax setup here is genuinely great for retirees. Around 52% of Wake County's population growth since 2020 came from people aged 55 and older, and that tells you a lot about our area. And by the way, I've got an agent who really specializes in this space, and she can walk you through the top options for 55-plus communities. So reach out via our contact information below. We'll connect with you. Now, you might ask, is anyone leaving Raleigh? And it is true, not everyone is staying. Some people are leaving Raleigh, and around 28,000 people left last year. And the top spots that they were going to were Florida, South Carolina, and Virginia. And the reason is pretty simple. Some people are leaving because it's gotten too busy for them. They're retiring to the beach or to the mountains. And some go because of a job transfer. And that's really most of it. A handful of downtown zip codes have seen people move out to the suburbs as the city has grown and gotten congested. And overall, pretty normal for any city of this size. And there's another big question around this phenomenon. Is our growth going to continue? Is it sustainable? And I know that the foundation is solid. North Carolina is on track to become the 7th most populous state by the early 2030s, with over 90% of that growth coming from people moving here, not from births. The population is already at 11.2 million as of mid-25 and still climbing. And things that are driving that growth are real and specific. Apple's RTP campus is a billion-dollar bet on this area, with thousands of jobs in AI and machine learning planned as it gets underway. Biogen has poured $2 billion into a manufacturing expansion here. Also, RDU Airport served about 15.5 million passengers in 2025, with 80 nonstop destinations, and it keeps on growing. They are currently planning a new runway. On the housing side, Wake County is projected to need up to 230,000 more homes by 2035 to keep up with demand. And supply is catching up. Inventory is up meaningfully year over year, with more homes on the market than at any point since 2020. Prices are leveling out, and buyers have more room to breathe than they've had in years. Raleigh has a great future, with big projects rolling in and investment flowing, along with a great job market, great affordability, great quality of life, and that's not changing anytime soon. So in conclusion, what happened here was that people looked at their option, they ran the numbers, and they decided that a move to Raleigh made financial sense. So if you're considering a move to Raleigh and want somebody who's watched this city grow for decades to help you figure out what's best for your family, shoot me an email at marti@martihampton.com, and let's talk about what fits your lifestyle and your budget. I've linked a video here to help you understand what life actually looks like here and if it's really for you. Thanks for being here. See you next time.